Hello, everyone. I'm going to start the unit on how to build your dream college list. And I'm really excited to do this for all of you because building your college list is one of the most important parts of the college application strategy. And so let's go ahead and get started. I hope you guys are excited about it. Let me go ahead and share my PowerPoint here. So for today's agenda, I'm going to cover long college list, what short college list is, early decision, early action, restrictive early action, and regular. What are the differences? How do you decide which one to go for? And some high level strategies. I've been doing college counseling for 14 plus years, and this is the only lesson you need. There's a lot of tips and strategies outside, but this is truly like the shortest accumulation of all you need to know about how to build a really good college list for you. Okay. So, what is a long college list? There's two types. This is your preliminary college list that you will accumulate starting ninth grade all the way until I would say about first semester of your 11th grade. So, your first semester of 11th grade ends sometime around December or January, depending on what kind of school you go to. So, up until then, you're going to work with the long college list, okay? Typically, the long list has about 30 to 35 colleges. I've seen students have even up to 40, but that's just truly case by case. So around 30 to 35. And it requires additional research after you add colleges to your long college list. So when you add a college to the long list, you're not really adding it because you love the school or you know so much about it. You're adding it because you find some sort of a connection to it. Maybe it's close to your home, or maybe they have a really good business program because you want to pursue business. So there's just usually some surface level relevancy. But when you put a college on your long list, what that means is you have to keep researching because if you end up not liking the college too much, then we're going to have to eliminate it when we finalize it for your short college list. Okay. So this is going to be your long college list. And I usually like students to, discuss the college list with their parents and as a family about twice a year. So you can try to add more during those times. So how do you decide what's going to go on your long list? There are a couple of categories that we want to utilize here. Category number one is major, which is your academic interest. If you are inside Passion Prep program, you know I talk about how important your academic interest is. And this is exactly the reason. If you don't know your academic interest, then it's really hard for you to decide what colleges are going to be even a good fit for you. So I'm going to do an example with all of you so that you kind of get a good idea of how a student should walk through this process. So I'm going to assume that my academic interest is going to be business. Okay. So given that my academic interest is business, I'm going to go inside College Planner Pro. And if you are our bootcamp students, you all have access to this. So when I go in, I'm going to go ahead and add a college because of the relevancy it holds with my academic interest. So I'm just going to go ahead and put NYU because NYU has a business school. I'm going to do another one and type in USC because USC has a business school. I'm going to add another one, University of Michigan. And I'm going to add that because they have Ross Business School. So I'm adding all the colleges because I know that they have a good business program. So if you're engineering or pre-med student, that's kind of the criteria that you should be using. Okay. So I didn't add in all of them for time's sake, but you see how I was able to kind of quickly come up with this list. Okay. And then the second category is your personal interest. When you apply to colleges, they do ask, why do you love to pursue in other activities other than your academic interest? In other words, what is your hobby? What do you like to do for fun? So all of those things are crucial in this process. And colleges want to know that, hey, I actually want to go to Brown University because I know Brown has really famous and impactful guest come on every week to talk about policy. So maybe my personal interest is policy, even though my academic interest is business. Another example is, let's say that I want to do education as my personal interest. And for example, USC has a education program that is connecting all the USC students with nearby elementary school. It's called JEP, and that's the organization affiliation that they have. So USC is very much focused on education inequity, serving low income communities, especially in the realm of education. So what you want to do is you want to search for those colleges that have those values or have those extracurricular activities. So, for example, I can go ahead and look at, okay, I'm going to see USC as an example. And I'm going to go click on this guide. And here they will talk about, how they have a huge emphasis on education and they have a JEP program and all of that, right? So these are some of the ways that you can add additional colleges in there. And I know one college who really loves to teach students about the importance of education. And because my personal interest education, I'm going to add Vanderbilt University. They have a strong education um, focus. I don't know why this is lagging. Let's see. Oops. Let me unshare my screen and reboot this page a little bit. Maybe too many of you guys are going in at the same time. Okay, I think I got it to work. Let me reshare my screen with all of you. Okay, so I'm going to add Vanderbilt University because they have a huge emphasis on education, and that is my personal interest. I'm also going to add Stanford University. They also have a huge education graduate school there. They also do a lot of joint activities with education and equity, so Stanford is going to go there. I'm also going to add in UCLA because they also do education related things. So my decision as to why I added these colleges was not mainly because of my academic interest, but because of my personal interest. So that's the way that I would frame this category. Okay, so category number two. And for some of you who play sports, do music, that's another way for you to gauge, like, oh, I want to. So for example, like, oh, I'm doing golf as my personal interest. So I'm going to go ahead and add Princeton in there, or something like that. Okay. I do a cappella, so I'm going to go ahead and add Brown there. So those are some additional examples. So do you see how a college adds up really, really quickly and they're all related to your interest? The category number three is going to be location. It's so funny because some of my East Coast students will say, like, I don't want to go to the West Coast, and my West Coast students are like, I want to go to the East Coast. So everyone's preference into location is really important. So in terms of location, if you are ruling out certain regions, that's the fastest way to go about this process. So if I, for example, live in Los Angeles and I want to stay in California, I want to stay within Boston, New York, those kinds of region. I don't want to go south. I don't want to go in the middle. Then it's really easy for me to even populate this as well. So some of the Southern California colleges, I'm very much interested in UC San Diego, so I would add that. So I'm adding all the colleges that are very geographically aligned with where I want to go. Boston University is one of them because I want to stay in Boston. Another one is going to be, let's see, NYU. I added that already. So yeah, some of them will overlap, right? I'm also going to add Pomona College because I like California. But what's going to happen is when you later on try to turn it into a short list, what you'll realize is that Pomona College is a liberal arts college, right? So maybe, you're realizing, you know what, I actually don't like that too much, or maybe you like it even more, even though the business program at USC is better, things like that. So right now you're just kind of adding as much as possible. And then this is also really nice because sometimes students will say, oh, I don't know if I want to go to Rice or I want to go to UT Austin. But then I'll ask them, like, what is your location preference? And they say, I probably want to stay in the coast. And it's a really easy way for us to eliminate. You don't need to apply to all the colleges, only the ones that really fit your own preferences, okay? Category number 4 is SAT and ACT policy. So now colleges, they have different policy regarding SAT and ACT. So let's say that you feel like you're not the best test taker and you decide that you are not going to add in SAT or ACT scores into your college application, then we only want to apply to colleges that either do not accept SAT or ACT or is the ones that say it's optional. Right? So then what happens is when you go in here, the ones that do require the SAT and ACT will be eliminating it, right? UCLA will stay because they don't require it, but Stanford requires it. So I'll go ahead and delete it like this. And so that's how shortlist starts to happen. Okay. If you are going to submit your SAT and ACT scores and you have a pretty good, standing, you don't have to worry about this at all because even if they want it or not, you can just put it into your common application and you're going to be good to go. Category number 5 is financial factors. So tuition. That's the key, right? So actually, when you click on the college, if I click on UCLA, it automatically tells me the cost of attendance in state, which is 38K, and cost of attendance out of state, which is 70K, right? So why financial factors is important is because let's say you live in Boston, but you want to go to UCLA, but you look at the 70K tag just because you're out of state. Hey, it's a really good way to just rule it out, just delete it, right? I'll go to NYU, one of the most expensive colleges. So you can say, hey, 90K per year is a little bit difficult for me. So it's a good way to rule it out. So, but if financial factors such as like the tuition does not bother you or affect your family in any way, then you just kind of go about it. But I mean, checking all the prices and the tuition price is really important. Let me look at another one. We did UCLA already. Pomona College is 86K, right? So financial factors, please take a look. And I know some students are very interested in financial aid and scholarship process. We do not specialize in those areas, but what I could tell you is that when you do look for schools, they have a merit aid based scholarship program. So basically, like if you have good GPA and SAT scores and you write a good essay, you can qualify for certain scholarships in the school. So those are the things that you can also look into as well, because a lot of students who do well in school, they get scholarship too. I've had a student where she got into USC and Harvard. USC, she got a full ride. Harvard, she didn't. So she ended up going to USC, right? So there's a lot of money in school that you could also take advantage of. So you have to do a lot of research in those areas. Category number 6 is your stats. The way that we look at it is 3 ways. Your GPA, your SAT and ACT scores, and number of AP classes. So how do we categorize what's going to be dream, what's going to be reach, possible, safety? Back in the days before COVID, we actually had 5 categories, but because the competition is really fierce, we don't have 5 categories anymore. There's only 3. First one is Dream and Reach, which is all Ivy League and top tier colleges. So even if you have straight A's, Ivy League is a dream and reach for you just because we're working with 3%, 4% acceptance rate. And possible is acceptance rates around 30 to 50% depending on your GPA and SAT scores. So let's say you have straight A's, then schools that have 30 to 50% acceptance rate will be your possible schools. But if you have like B's and C's like that, the possible schools will probably be your reach schools. Okay, so think of it that way. And then safety is any school with above 50% acceptance rates. And for safety schools with our students, we usually have them stay in state so that you can take advantage of the in-state tuition instead of paying for outside of state, out of state tuition when it's only your safety school. But I mean, that's up to you to decide, but this has usually been our protocol. Okay, so that's how you decide that. And in terms of like how many colleges should be dream, reach, and possible, I would say 60 to 70% of the schools should be dream reach possible, and the remaining can be safety. Okay. All right. Now, short college list. Now that you do all of these research, now the short list becomes your final college list. And typically, short list is about 15 to 18 colleges, with the exception of UC counts as one college. So if you're applying to all 9 UCs, that's counted as one. So technically, you'll be applying to like 28 colleges, but application wise, it's going to be one college. Okay. So 15 to 18 is a really, really good number right now. And some people might say, like, why so many? It's because even though you're a perfect student, you might get rejected. So that's why we want to make sure you apply to a good amount of schools that are going to be great fit for you. Once your short college list is finalized, you can start strategizing early decision, early action, restrictive action, and regular. A lot of students jump into this part first, and I'm like, no, you have to finalize your college list first, and then we start talking about early decision, early action, REA, and regular. So let's talk about these admissions. Early decision is basically binding. If you apply early, you get in, you have to go. You're signing a legal agreement when you apply to colleges. An example of a college who does that is UPenn. Early action EA means once you get in, if you decide not to go, you don't have to go. So it's not a binding agreement. An example of that is going to be USC. REA is restrictive early action. You apply to only that school early, and if you get in, you don't have to go again. But when you apply, the restriction is there because you can't apply to other private schools with early action or early decision or any kind of early in it. So example of that will be Harvard, and regular just means you're applying regular, you apply, you get in, you decide not to go, that's okay. You're gonna go, that's okay. It's just you apply. It's basically that's it. So in terms of early decision or early action tips, this is how I would do it. Option number one is to do one college for early decision and then 3 EA schools. I love this combination because that means you can apply to a lot of early schools and see where you get in. And you get a lot of acceptances or even rejections or wait lists in the beginning, which is really nice instead of you having to wait for it. And obviously, when you apply early, the chances increase a little bit, right? Option number two is if you end up doing REA as one of your school, like Yale or Harvard or Stanford, like that, what they do is they're not going to allow you to apply to EA private schools. So you can still apply to EAs, but only the one that REA school allows. So for example, Harvard, their policy for REA, if you look at it here, is if you are applying to Harvard under restrictive early action, you may not apply to any other private institution under early decision, early action, or restrictive early action plan, or to a binding early program at a public university. You're welcome to apply to early to any public university, military academy, or university outside of the United States under non-binding program. So ones that they allow, you can still apply to about two. Okay. In terms of some high level strategies, please, please, please research. Don't tell me that you want to go to a college because it's an Ivy League school or their campus is pretty or whatever. Everyone is going to say the same thing. Um, your reasoning has to be very specific. Like, I need to know that you did so much research about the school and their classes and their professors and their initiatives and everything that I'm like, wow, I did not even know that that existed. That's how much extensive research you need to do because that is going to go inside your supplemental essays. Okay. So, how do you research that? Look at their mission statement, look at their values, their programs, specific clubs, initiative, research centers. Another tip is to network with your regional admission officers regularly. Send them questions via email twice a year about programs, initiatives, and keep asking, keep wanting to learn more about the school so that they're like, wow, this student is really interested in our school and our programs that we have. And this one is something that is really important is research your high school's track record. So if your high school does not have a track record of sending a student to Stanford in the past 10 years, you're probably not going to get in. So the relationship that the college has with the high school is really important too. Some students say, oh, yeah, at our school, we always have someone going into Harvard, like 2 students per year. So even if your dream college is UPenn, but your school never sent anyone to UPenn, your chances are slim. So we might want to change the strategy a little bit, at least for early decision or restrictive early action. So research your high school's track record. You could actually ask your guidance counselor about that. You are obligated to get that information, or you could actually, ask your upperclassmen and say what they say as well. I hope that you found the college list tutorial to be helpful. Everything that you need to know is here. And if you're in the bootcamp program, if you have any individualized questions about your colleges, please let us know. And if you look at the portal here, you can actually, once you have all of your college list done, you could look at it in a report form so that you can go ahead and compare like the key differences and things like that too. And also you can also click on it and look at like essay prompts and see like, oh, like these are the things that I need to write, which would be really good to know. Okay. Um, all right. So this is a tutorial and ended here. If you have any other questions, we'll see you outside of this tutorial through office hours or through CPP. Thank you all for attending tonight. Bye, everyone.